portion, we're going to talk about multi-view drawings. Multi-view is understanding that, right, everything has different perspectives, different ways you can take a look at the same thing. What do you have in front of you? Most likely a computer, a phone, or some sort of device in which you're viewing this video. The way you're probably looking at it is through the front of your device. But can you see the back of that device in this moment? Unless there's a mirror there, but most likely not, right? You'll probably have to flip it or get stand up and walk around your computer or the screen that you're looking at. And can you look it from the left or the right side? Can you look it from a bird's eye view? There's all these different views that exist, but sometimes we cannot look at them until we change our orientation or our perspective. So a single view, multi-view, or a single drawing only reveals partial information about an object or a construction. You don't get the whole picture. Again, going back to the depiction of your example of your device, if I ask you to draw what's behind your computer, maybe you don't remember exactly how it is, right? Maybe you're familiar, if it has some sort of logo, but you don't know exactly how it looks right now. So you don't have the whole picture of something until you see all the different views. And that's what we're going to be talking about in this next chapter. So the first thing you need to think about is, how do you sort of come up with these drawings, right? And this starts with the idea of sketching or thinking on paper. So, and the first idea really starts to come up from what we call bubble diagrams. And then you sort of start building and start growing, right? So in this case, this drawing, right, started off as, very conceptual. There's something here, but then you expanded that into maybe there's some sort of walkways here. Maybe there's these buildings are a bit more spaced out, and then it grows into a little bit more, creating more of the floor plan view, until eventually growing into something a bit more with a little bit more information. So the idea of thinking on paper is going to be very, very important when it comes to architectural and designing. So different types, and so when you're sketching, you need to consider all these different views that we talked about, right? You cannot just simply sketch and design in the floor plan view or elevation or the front or the back of the building or how it looks from above. You have to consider different views, different types of orientations, because this will allow you to think a little bit more of what you are trying to design. So a simple sketch can eventually come into something like this. So here, an example, they're thinking of how does it look from above, right? This sort of L shape, but how does it look from in a perspective, right? And how do you see the sun moving throughout the day? And then eventually, thinking, okay, what are the materials that it can have? So take into consideration the placement, the views, sunlight, and form. So when you're sketching, think of different views, think how it affects the sun, the wind, and how, think of different ways that are impacting your design. And so once we really start to solidify these ideas, we can start to really add more details, right? So this sort of becomes the same drawing, but now we start to get really these cleaner lines to really provide a specific angle, to provide specific lengths for these shadings, for the ease, for the extrusions. We start to create, as I mentioned, different views. Now we see from the front, from the back, from the left, from the right. We start to really look at what all the different views that are happening. And then we start to define that even more. We begin to add all the final details, like, so this started like this. Eventually we get more, but now we got a little bit more of an idea. Now we get more defined, but now we can really get more into detail, right? What are the spaces? What are the dimension? What happens inside? What size of a table fits, what type of chairs can fit in this space, right? We started to really create this sort of master plan with vegetation, with landscaping, with different walkways and so on, right? And we really started to get more and more defined, but again, it all started with sketching and thinking of all these different views and different perspectives and trying to come up with the design. So when we think of different views, think about the horizontal plane, the frontal plane, and the profile plane. I'm going to explain a little bit more on this. So the frontal plane will be this one, right? Sort of this vertical plane, which an elevation or front view is projected. So you see, right, is this vertical as if you're standing right in front of it. Profile plane is the principal vertical picture plane on which the side or end view is projected or orthographically. So this is sort of usually your front, right? What people see, the first thing people see, right? And the horizontal is the principal level in which planet's top view is projected. So we have this horizontal plane, as you can see from above. And the reason we're calling them planes is because you're going to start noticing that they go into a 2D type of drawing. Right? Here we have a 3D object, a 3D building, but when we come to plane, right, it becomes two-dimensional, right? So again, we're going to go with the profile, which is the principal vertical. We have the frontal, which is the principal vertical plane and the front view, and then we'll have the, sorry, I kind of got them confused. The frontal is the principal vertical and with the elevation, and the profile is the profile, which is the side or end view of the projected. So yeah. So the frontal, right, would be your front. What you see in the profile will be the sides, right? So we have frontal, and then we have our sides. So I want us to think a little bit about this, right? If you had to draw the top, which in this case, going back to this, will be the horizontal plane, right? Like this view from above, will be your horizontal plane. How would you draw it? I want you to pause this video, and before we continue, draw this in a piece of paper, and I want to see if you get it right. Then, how does it look from the front? Going back to this, what is the frontal plane? So how does it look if you're standing right here and you see it in a two-dimensional plane? And then I want you to do it from profile. How does it look from the right side, as if you're standing right here? Right? So again, it has to be a transitioning from a 3D to a 2D orthographic projection. I'm going to give you a couple of seconds, and then you can unpause this video when you're ready. Did you get something like this? Hopefully you did, all right? And if not, you can sort of compare your answers and see where, what did you do different that you could change in order to make it look like this, right? So this is sort of what happened, right? We started to see this front plane, we get to see this idea of this sort of L shape, right? We cannot see what's above, we cannot see this, we cannot see this, we only see this from the side. From the profile, we can only see this and see this, right? That's why we see this big sort of rectangle combined with a smaller rectangle. From the top, we only see this and this, right? And so again, this is what different views will allow you to create, and it allows you to really, when you're drawing, to really eventually think in 2D but think in 3D at the same time. So I'll end this portion of this video with this quick meme or joke. So whoever's in charge says, so one of the horses will be drawn from the side and the other one will be from the front, right? He's trying to hire someone as an artist to do this painting. The medieval artist says, from the front And the owner says, right, you know how to draw horses from the front. And the artist like, yeah, totally. And as you can see in the image, right, the horse looks really good in profile. Really, it looks like a normal horse, right? Pretty nice. But then from the front, I don't know what you see, but it kind of looks more like a bug or some sort of other creature, right? And again, maybe it was intentional or whatnot, but it's sort of like a play on the idea that when you're drawing all these different views, multi views, you have to be able to think, and how does it look from profiles? How does it look from above? How does it look from the front? And when you're sketching, this will give you a faster and easier to convey your idea. So thank you for watching. Please continue to the next part.